He's got one more obstacle in the way to day 2. Knockdown comes out. He just needs the Seed Bomb, and the Trevenant is going to flip everything and sweep all 3 of these Pokemon from Conglazer.
Hey everyone, I'm back with another pro tip for PvP. If you haven't seen any of my previous Caleb's pro tip videos, I'll link the previous videos down below. These are mechanics and concepts that all players should know about because it can definitely make an impact on your gameplay and understanding of what is going on if you're spectating. For this week's pro tip, it is a strategy that I like to call the overload strategy. It's a name I coined. I don't think there is an official terminology for it, but overall it's a strategy that involves bringing 3 Pokemon that are quite weak to at least one of your opponent's Pokemon, but the Pokemon you're weak to on your opponent's team is only strong enough to take out 1 or maybe 2 of your Pokemon, and it allows your remaining Pokemon to sweep all of their backend Pokemon, and they don't have enough resources to continually check that specific typing or coverage you bring. The beauty of this strategy is that not a lot of players utilize this because most trainers try to build balanced teams that have coverage for all their weaknesses. You are purposely overloading all your resources in one side of the equation and making it so that you're very weak in one area but very strong in the other. I briefly mentioned this strategy in my Color Cup video because my Color Cup team relied on the overload strategy. Now, it's not completely necessary for the strategy, but typically speaking, if you have more bulky Pokemon, you can pull this strategy off much more easily because bulky Pokemon, even against their worst matchups, still have some play. I'm going to show some footage on how to utilize the strategy in Go Battle League, and then I'll also show additional footage on how to execute it in an official tournament format. Before we get into the battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below. If you watch my Color Cup video, you've seen this footage already, but let me just talk more about it from an overload strategy perspective. So as you can see, my team is very weak to Lantern. In fact, it's very weak to Electrics in general, as well as Toxapex. My only Toxapex counter is the mirror matchup, which is not great. And then my only electric counter is I don't have any. But Lantern still takes quite a bit of damage from Bug Buzz. And most people that are using Lantern are thinking, you know what, once I take out this Arachnid, I should be okay. And they actually swap to a Tropius here. Able to debuff, and that's fine. But again, that Lantern is quite low on health. And I have 2 other things quite weak to Lantern. But here's the thing. There's already one thing that's weak to fire and poison, and likely that Lantern is built to check things like Charizard and Toxapex. And you can see the Lantern comes back in here because they don't have a lot of checks, even though Lantern is very low. So they're forced to shield the Dragon Claw just to get the Surf off because their backline Pokemon is even weaker. And that's the thing, right? You have a Water type in the lead, and you want to protect it with potentially 2 Grass types in the back because you want to have things that beat stuff like Swampert. And as you can see, here comes the second Grass, and you're able to overload their resources. They had 1 Lantern that, yes, can beat every single Pokemon on my team, but it cannot beat all 3 by itself. And once you muscle through that matchup, your backend matchup is so much easier, right? So obviously it looks really good there, but you know, the matchups a lot of times are not that easy, right? Galvantula, also a tricky one because for me to get the Bug Buzz, it's going to take way too much. So I'm actually going to try to Bubble Beam it. Hey, Cranberry, what's up? Or maybe she's feeling a little overloaded here too. But we're going to throw the Bubble Beam here. Grab a shield, which is pretty nice. A lot of Galvantula users will choose a shield there. And I just hope that they didn't know how to count Bug Bites very well. And here, coming in with Toxapex, also loses the Galvantula, super effective Volt Switch and Discharge. Luckily, they went for a bait there, but still, I'm not going to shield everything. Because again, I'm going to rely on that Charizard and Toxapex. Also something really hard to take out, especially because mine is quite low. But I have a shield advantage here, and I just need to kind of muscle through this matchup. In all likelihood, that 3rd Pokemon is going to be very weak to both Charizard and Toxapex. It's just how it goes, right? Most people are going to build balanced teams, and because they're building balanced teams, you're much more able to handle the positive matchups you have in the back with your unbalanced team. And here it comes, and it's going to be the Grass type Tropius here. And then so we are able to grab a shield here, and again, both my Pokemon here have a lot of play. All 3 of my Arachnid wouldn't have the best play there, but 2 of my Pokemon does, right? And again, we overload their resources. They have a Toxapex that's kind of a soft check to a lot of things here, and then they lost their hard check Galvantula early on because I sacrificed my Arachnid and most of my Toxapex's health to take it out and clear the way. Now, here's a example of how overload strategy looks even if you don't run into the lead. You see Shift Tree there. Shift Tree is bad against all three of my Pokemon. Why? Because I'm completely overloading that weakness they have. They're weak to poison, they're weak to bug, they're weak to fire, they're weak to flying. And because of that, the overload strategy works quite well even if they're on the lead as well, because you know you don't need switch advantage. I know at this point I don't need switch advantage. I'm going to have a good matchup against Shift Tree either way. So in some ways it gives you some reassurance that no matter what, you're going to have a great matchup against Shift Tree, and you just have to deal with the third Pokemon in the back. In all likelihood, this third Pokemon is something that's going to be quite strong against all three of mine. Could be electric type, at least two of mine, right? Because they have to cover the Shift Tree weakness, and all three are strong against Shift Tree, which means that there's third Pokemon here is going to be quite good, and it is going to be a Zapdos here. So as you can see, good against all three of my Pokemon, actually quite strong. But because we're able to get such an energy lead in a more positive matchup there with the debuffed, against the debuffed Toxapex, we're able to grab a shield from them. And here is where we just need to overload this Zapdos. If I overload the Zapdos, spend all my resources to try to take it out, spend both of my shields to take out the Zapdos, I'm going to be in the clear here and able to just finish off the Shift Tree. Shift Tree hasn't even seen any action yet, but I already know what's a Shift Tree going to do here, right? It really can't do anything, and trying to go for a sack swap there. Even if they take out this Charizard, I have the Araquanid doing double super effective bug bites, able to take it out. In an official tournament format, such as the Championship Series, where you can see the 6 potential Pokemon on your opponent's side, you could really build overload strategies around that too, because you know what to expect and what the hardest counters are already going to be. I wouldn't recommend utilizing this strategy consistently, because it is a hard strategy to pull off, but in the right circumstances, you can actually really surprise your opponents and swing the match in your favor. I'm going to show my Game 3 match against one of my opponents in the San Diego Regionals, and I built an overload team that was triple weak to Noctowl. I actually did expect the Noctowl to come in that match, but I knew my Medicham had a lot of play into Noctowl and then Sableye as well, and really what I want to do is draw out the Noctowl so that my Trevenant can sweep the backhand matchups. Noctowl was their hardest and most reliable counter to my Trevenant, but the thing is Noctowl is not strong enough to take out all three of my Pokemon.
We have both of our trainers now locked in. Decisive Game 3, the winners finals here of the Group D bracket. We head to the field, and we have Medicham versus Galarian Stunfisk, a favorable lead for Caleb Peng.
Counter swapping into the Noctowl here. Caleb Peng going to stay for a few extra moments with his Medicham. He has got no other options in the back. He's got 2 Ghost-type Pokemon in the Sableye and the Trevenant. I'm not sure he can afford to switch out. If he does, maybe he'll reach for the Sableye, but this is really, really tough.
Let's see, we have the Noctowl going right for the Sky Attack. Caleb lets that Sky Attack go through on the Medicham. Medicham can tank 1, but those wing attacks are starting to really add up. Caleb goes for the Ice Punch. Gongglazer shields it up, wanting to get a little bit more energy on the Noctowl. Already at a Sky Attack, we see a swap out from Caleb.
Swapping into the Sableye, he's going to let the Sky Attack through again, recognizing that Noctowl can do damage, but it needs a second Sky Attack to put this Sableye in danger of being KO'd. Going to reach for the foul play. It will be a charge move priority, and Sableye gets to go first, finally silencing this Noctowl. Actually, excuse me, Gongglazer sends his second Protect Shield to help.
And the Noctowl, since that was a charge move priority, the Noctowl Sky Attack fires immediately after. Caleb decides to deploy his first Protect Shield of this battle, but Sableye not able to do any fast move pressure with those Shadow Claws. And we see a swap maybe trying to make a catch and doesn't work out for Gongglazer.
Going for the foul play here. I think Caleb can comfortably get off 2. He will win the charge move priority against the Galarian Stunfisk if the charge attacks do align as the Rock Slide is prepared. Going for another foul play, and again, just chipping away patiently, piece by piece, brick by brick. He wants to deal as much damage as he can.
Yeah, really wanting to utilize the last little bit of this Sableye. Actually swaps out and brings in the Medicham, gets at least 1 counter damage, and then absorbs this Rock Slide energy, leaving the Galarian Stunfisk with not a charge move banked.
And as he sees here, oh my goodness, the Sableye has too much HP. You can't mudshot it down. He forces the Galarian Stunfisk to throw energy, and he is clearing the way for his Trevenant to come in here and sweep through 3 Pokemon.
We will have to see how it goes. That Noctowl, though, from Konglaser still has some health left. The Trevenant is going to have to throw a charge move to be able to clear the Noctowl away. Konglaser brings in his own Trevenant, but Caleb has a shield where Konglaser has none.
It's a charge move priority, and Caleb's Peng's Shadow Ball will connect into the opposing Trevenant for the knockout. He's got one more obstacle in the way to day 2. Knockdown comes out. He just needs the Seed Bomb, and the Trevenant is going to flip everything and sweep all 3 of these Pokemon from Konglaser.
Oh my goodness, there is the Trevenant using the Seed Bomb, knocks out the Noctowl. Trevenant has branched a path to victory for Caleb Peng.
My goodness, if you would have told me we would have entered today with a Trevenant beating a Noctowl to send Caleb Peng to day 2, I wouldn't have believed you. It sounds like a storyline.
So to review the footage we just watched, my thought process is if I run to knock down the lead, I'm going to completely let my Medicham go, do as much damage as possible, and then finish off the Noctowl with my Sableye, and my Trevenant hopefully will have great positive matchups in the back end. Luckily, I did win the lead matchup, and they swapped straight away to Noctowl. Again, I still let my Medicham go for the most part in that matchup, and then try to take out the Noctowl as much as possible. Once I saw that he started shielding the Noctowl, that's when I knew that my Trevenant is going to have a lot of play in the backhand matchup. Everyone watching that matchup would probably think that the matchup is really not in my favor, but I already knew going into that battle that I was going to rely on an overload strategy, and even if the Noctowl was brought, I had a way to win it. I hope this video was helpful in helping you understand what the overload strategy is and how to execute it. I don't recommend utilizing this strategy consistently, but used in small doses and against the right team composition, it could be quite strong and really catch your opponents off guard. Most trainers expect some type of balance in teams that you bring, and having an incredibly unbalanced team can completely switch the tides of battle and help you get that win. Thank you all for watching. If you like this pro tip or any of the previous pro tips, feel free to give it a like and share, especially share with those that are just getting into PvP or for those that may need additional few tips. Be sure to subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll catch you all next time.